see the trap. We can see the dirty parties. All we got to do is don't take sides in the motherfucking shit, and we can see it clear. But they teach you to take a side. No, they ain't slow. They talking about paperwork, Rashida, because they slave catchers. The ones who's trying to compel people to do the work, they not, some of them not even conscious that they slave catching because they believe that bullshit so much. You can believe John Legend wife had miscarriages if you want to. I don't know how that nigga had a miscarriage. But that's another story for another time. All these cross-dressing ass drag queen motherfuckers. I don't give a fuck if they on here now or not. They slave catchers, they slave catchers. Ain't nothing I can do but tell the truth. The system is a paper chain. The system is a legal fiction, a corporation. The United States is a corporation. Each state is a corporation. England, London own the copyright to all law being executed in America. England, London own the copyright to all of the law books. Why? Because they own the law through the barristers, and the barristers are the ones who lobby and argue law on the behalf of the barons. The barons are the land barons. They the ones who come by and trick you out your goddamn land and give you the Bible as a priest, right? And they gonna be slow as they want to be. Fuck them. I don't know. I already told them what it is, right? You go down there filing that paperwork. That's why all them Moors is in the federal prison for fraud right now. That's why they all in there for fraud, for filing that paperwork and then trying to assert their sovereign capacity under the pretense of the paperwork because it's a trick. I'm letting you know it's a trick. We don't need none of that shit because we from the land, we of the land, we walk in the land as free man, and all we got to do is acknowledge one another as free individuals and make it known by public notice that we do not consent to the artificial corporation running us. We don't have to file shit. Right. So any attorney is an esquire, and all esquires are esquires by letters patent because that's the title of nobility prohibited under the Constitution. Article 1 in 2 different spots. Look it up. Constitution prohibits the issuance of, and it's case law to show you the argument that they issue in order to prevent them from using the titles of nobility. And honorable is a title of nobility issued to the barrister by letters patent. And Esquire is also a title of nobility issued to the attorneys by the Crown of England under letters patent. It was first formed as the Bar Association in 1863 by King George III, and it was then given the initial charter, which was a patent to act on the behalf of the Crown in the dissemination and distribution of legal matters, which is the matters of the barristers' paperwork in order to calculate, maintain the books. The books is your ledgers, it's your invoices, it's your titles, and it's your deeds, right? So what do they do with our shit? Well, we had our own shit before they came. And Big Mama ran this bitch. And Big Mama said that put their ass on blast. So I don't want to hear nothing about no file, no paperwork. You can't file the paperwork with your enemy talking about you trying to get free. There is no logic in that shit. It matches no logic known to man. So these is the same motherfuckers that's been in the Bible story for 5,000 years, but the Bible is just the code in order to tell you who's doing it, because the real Bible is the Coptic Bible, and the Catholic Bible that we follow today in the Protestant Bible is the trickery Bible. Yeah, that's earlier in the video, Simone. You go back over it and catch it. I tried to get you in here. So all of this shit, going back to what Simone just asked me, is the orchestrated legal maneuvers of the Catholic Church by papal bull. And the papal bulls was the decree making public notice to the people of what the Roman Catholic Church was about to do. They was about to seize all your assets, declare you incompetent as long as you believe in the Bible. You have to be. You have to be incompetent to continuously believe in your culture being inverted and dropped on your head. So therefore, he got the right to claim that you was an imbecile in law and to have the Crown of England commissioned as the ones who send the barristers to administer the rights of civilization in the white man's world under those who were his subjects as slaves to administer their estates because they are not functional and capable of understanding who they is, they ties to the land or their birthright. Therefore, the Catholic Church gonna just say, we're gonna hold this on to y'all and we're gonna live off of it. We ain't gonna keep it. We're just gonna hold it till y'all figure out what the problem is, and y'all ain't gonna never figure out the problem is, so we're gonna keep y'all enslaved forever until you figure it out. Well, if we figured it out, motherfucker, from coast to coast, we the most. We gonna figure this shit out. Big mama boys don't play. Right? And so once we got it all put together, we have to bring it out here and let y'all examine it for yourself. Right? So when I be telling y'all this shit, I don't be trying to prove nothing. I already didn't prove what it is. I done already posted the receipts. Now I'm redundant with this shit. I'm so redundant with it, I'm getting dizzy like I'm doing perpetual backflips. Right? Because they keep saying the same shit, file paperwork. I keep telling y'all the paperwork is fraud because the fraud is tied to a fraudulent system, and they keep on doing this shit over and over again. And it's always somebody that come in and expose their hand as the dirty players in the game because then they want to try to undercut some shit. Larry Hoover is the high chief on the land right now, the lead chief. He the lead chief because he had to sound the alarm to the other chiefs on the land that one of his tribesmen, me, discovered what the trap was, and we finna put this shit on the floor in public domain for the people to see it. Now that I'm putting it out there, I can go over that all of those charges is fabrications from COINTELPRO, and everything they accuse our leadership of doing, theirs was actually doing it, and they got caught. And Iran-Contra is the proof. In the paperwork with the paper trail, following the money back to the government that's owned by the Jewish Defense League, that's owned by the ADL, that's owned by the Moorish Zionist Temple, the same motherfuckers that came over here as conquistadors after they got kicked out of Europe, the same motherfuckers that said that we crashed our landmass into their ship called the Plymouth. And so they took us to the International Tribunal to seize all our assets as hostile forces. And in order to get a ceasefire, because we wasn't going down without a fight. And we ain't never stopped fighting. Because when they challenged us to the Contra War, we ain't had no choice because they signed contracts with $5 Indians using the blood of the indigenous people of the land to tie them to the blood oath. This is what they did. Crispus Attucks, the first person to die. It's whose blood they wrote the Constitution in. And the Constitution was in D.C. It's been seized. Everything in D.C. has been seized by the indigenous people in the land. But we can't even get this shit on the ball until enough of us realize how to become our own independent self. That's the holdup. There's too many of us that's not understanding how to assert their authority in the public domain. You're not putting your motherfucking stamp of approval on yourself. You still putting it on Jesus, Muhammad, the Bible, and the Quran. Some shit that don't got nothing to do with you or us, or none of us. If you from this land and you organic to the land, you feel that shit in your bones. A motherfucker ain't got to tell you shit. You don't need no paperwork to prove what your ancestry is waking up in your blood, proving to you without nobody telling you nothing. That's why y'all even listening to me, because y'all getting the internal clocks clicking. Then you need to go tell somebody that needs some help that this is why you need help. You know? So I wanted to make sure I let y'all know who the devil was. The bitch in the dismal abyss now. They say thrown into the bottomless pit for all eternity. But the bottomless pit ain't closed yet. In the bottomless pit that's not closed, it won't be closed until the Pama sink. That's when you're gonna know it's closed. Because they fluxing through the portals trying to find another way in. So the elders is shutting their ass out at every location, and they're trying to make sure they got them sealed once and for all before they shut them portals and blow them stargates. And once they do that, they can't never get back in. They'll be in a perpetual looping system on themselves. And it don't got nothing to do with us. They did it to themselves. And it ain't our fault. They did it to themselves. Just like the sellouts, they did it to themselves. So when they get beheaded, they did it to themselves. It's not. I'm not taking none of that shit personal, and ain't got nothing to do with me. I'm just telling y'all what they doing. Right? So I'm about to save this. Y'all take it and y'all share it to who y'all want to share it to. Get the information out if you choose to. If you're not, don't worry about it. Because the shit gonna come to an end sooner or later anyway. Y'all gonna see what the fuck I'm telling y'all. Here's the raw and the uncut fact. And my phone about to die, so I gotta end this live. Peace, fam. Keep up the good work. And fuck them motherfuckers. They ain't got nothing to do with us. Stop taking their shit as yours. Oh, I didn't even know I was running. I was doing my invite. So this is the part two because Facebook blocked my part one. And on what should Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam be doing in response to the persecution? So I'm going to say, hey, Portia, you start sharing yet, girl? Start sharing this video. It's important. Say, like, look, this is what they need to do, right? All Farrakhan got to do if he want to see him back down is tell them about the queen about to die and why for eating babies and drinking human blood. Now, she got a little more time left because she gonna suffer a little bit. That old wicked wench gotta suffer a little bit. So she gonna go through withdrawals from human blood. So y'all gonna see her suffering because she can't live without that shit. And then everybody see the Pope, Francis punk ass laying over there in drag. Now, this is what Farrakhan need to be telling them. Francis had till Cinco de Mayo to get his pedophile priests out of the Vatican, right? And they still there. So what would I if I was in the nation right now and I was suffering the persecution like Farrakhan? I would point out the fact why they so worried about a man that has been judged as righteous, that they should be more concerned with their disobedience to the word of God
then look, while they looking at the Pope suffering, right? And while they looking at that Queen suffering, then they can show them the video where I told they punk ass what to do and what was about to happen. And so, it it as soon as they realize what's taking place, them suckers gon' buckle. Now, if you want to give it some power, right, and you want to use some African conjure as is laid down in the biblical revelation. See, the story has to be so greatly exaggerated that when you hear about what they call a woe or a disaster, that it brings so much terror over you that it amplifies it in your mind so you won't forget. And so in the this is how called because it's actually a actual ceremony that was done in ancient Africa. So I'm finna tell y'all ancient ceremony that if it was done at the nation right now would fuck them people. Everything stops. See, it was several ways that this could have been approached. And right now, Providence, as they would call it, has created the perfect storm, so to speak, to perform a particular high council ritual, right? Now, at this ancient ritual that used to be done in Egypt, if anybody had a vexed grievance against one of the sons of righteousness, then this is where they get in the Bible where it say, no man, right? No man come unto the Father except by the Son. Because in this era, this ritual had to be exposed for what it is. So now watch how the ceremony is laid out in ancient Egypt in order to protect a righteous father. A son always is exalted out front as his voice, as that lion, that young lion that roar on the behalf of his father that has put in a whole life of righteousness. And now you get all these people calling him hate mongers and calling him this and calling him that. Well, they do the ritual by acknowledging the high council seat that governs the realm of the earth, in the heavens over the earth. And that would have them have to perform a particular ceremony. So, like when you see them doing the 144,000, that's a ceremony. That's a ritual. But that ritual, see, the book is not all the way in order. That ritual hasn't come yet because somebody has to be taught how to perform it. But when you look in there, they got this second angel. Okay, now, if you go back to Savior today, you see the minister laid his life out to the world. And before the Lord Christ, he did right in front of everybody. He laid it out. And so when he laid it out, I'm looking at it and I'm like, you know, everything he's saying is right. And I'm watching him, and then, you know, I knew right then that he was declared to be righteous because certain recognitions you can't get unless you are righteous. And certain other things people won't do for you unless you're righteous. And now I'm not talking about like a guy give you a Rolex. No. I'm talking about personal ceremonial ritual implements. That's a very, very high level of respect for a person that received that, like somebody taking their hat off their head. Um, so he would have had to been declared righteous just by that alone, right? You know, and then look how he held all that unity together at Nipsey funeral. That was a powder keg that could have blown at any second, but everybody know that had the FOI not been so intricately involved